This is the library at the University of Manitoba, the Elizabeth Defoe Library. The Apport collection that I was looking at was up on the third floor of the library in the archives. The archives actually has 50 collections of spiritualist material, and part of that is the collection that I'm going to be looking at here is the Stanley Krippner collection. So we go to the library here, and this is one of the sets of apports that came. It came from a woman by the name of Fawn Journeyhawk, who was an Aboriginal shaman figure in the United States. Here's the box. It came. These apports were given to Stanley Krippner by Fawn, and they were in this little bag. And Krippner had done a lot of work. He was a professor at Saybrook University in the United States, and had done a lot of work on all sorts of psychic phenomena, and done a lot of work on apports. And what happened was that he had collected a bunch of apports, and then had put them in his house, and his house was broken into, and all the apports were stolen. So what he did at that point is he took the next collection of apports that he got, which include these here that you're looking at, and he sent them to the University of Manitoba for safekeeping. So there's this collection here, and then there's a second collection that I'll look at in a second. Now these were all highly polished stones, and according to Fawn, these are all related. They're like a family of stones. And one of the things people might not understand with apports is, my understanding is that there are no two that are alike. They're all completely different. So this gets us into the whole idea about the alien metals, these little pieces of metal that people are now collecting and analyzing that they think may be part of UFO crafts, and we're going to back engineer stuff. I would think that these are apport phenomena, these metal. So here we have all these various stones, and they're all highly polished. They're very, very smooth on the edges. They look the same, but you can see that they are completely different sizes. So Fawn sent these to Stanley Krippner, and then Stanley Krippner moved them to the library. There are, I believe, 17 objects in this collection which were in that bag, that leather bag. I learned about the collection almost like a synchronicity, which is often involved in apport stories. I had first heard the story by Ray Hernandez at LAX about apports, and a very close experiencer friend of his who had a number of different apports that he had gotten. And apports are things which move from place to place through walls, and these I guess would actually be more manifestations, things that appear that aren't already in the world. And things in the world, people will describe their keys disappearing and then reappearing, or I just heard about a laser light thing that Ricardo Gonzalez had been using in Peru that disappeared for 3 days and then suddenly reappeared right on top of a bed. So these are things that appear, disappear, and manifestations are things that sort of come out of some other dimension, or they're created somewhere else, and they just fall out of the in a room and behind people. They make a large noise when they fall, and we have apports and we have manifestations. Here's some very sort of bizarre sort of ones that are part of this collection that had been sent by Fawn. And so what happened was, when I heard Ray Hernandez talking about these apports, I decided I was going to look into this phenomena, because it appeared to me that the metals that people are finding, these metals, these UFO metals, may be apport material. It may be things that the intelligence is just dropping off, and we think it's pieces falling off a flying saucer, and they're actually these type of things. There are actually, once I started looking, there's unbelievable numbers of these cases. They just really haven't been discussed, and they haven't been tied into the UFO phenomena. I do believe these will tie into the UFO phenomena, that they are connected. It's all the same sort of phenomena. And UFO phenomena itself may be an apport phenomena. It may be things that are popping in and out of a portal, coming from another dimension or another higher frequency. That's a description that is given of apports, that they are, there's a portal that's created, and these things pop out of the portal and come into the physical world. So when I started to research this, it was there where I had this bizarre synchronicity in Laughlin, Nevada, to do a Google search, and that's when I came across Stanley Krippner's name and his description of the fact that all these apports had been stolen, and that the next collection had gone to the University of Manitoba. And I had been at the University of Manitoba for 37 years and was quite shocked that this material would be at exactly the same library that I worked at for so many years. So here's the entire collection of stones that came from Vaughan, and I'm not sure how long they've been at the university. Here's the other collection at the University of Manitoba. These came from a psychic in Brazil, Amir Amadin, and Stanley Krippner made a number of different trips down to his location, and you can see these various stones, and you can see, as I said before, they're all basically different. Here's a metal. A lot of apports are religious metals or coins that fall in the vicinity of a psychic, and they used to fall in physical mediums. At the turn of the last century, or in the turn of the 20th century, there was a lot of this stuff going on. And there's actually another collection that I'll be looking at Stanford University, and this is an apport collection from one of the guy that founded Stanford University is Leland Stanford. His brother was very much into paranormal psychic phenomena, and he had made a whole collection of apports as well. Leland Stanford himself had lost his son at 15 years old, and had actually done a seance. He and his wife were doing seances trying to contact his son, and he claimed that he had a dream where his son had said not to be distressed, that he should use his wealth. He was a very wealthy guy, to help humanity, and that's why, because he had this dream about his son, that he started Stanford University. He said the children of California will be our children, because he no longer had any children. His son had died, and that's why he started Stanford University. Stanford University is actually, the real name for it is the Leland Stanford Junior University, not Stanford University. It's actually named after his son. So there's a collection there, but this is the second collection that came from Krippner, from this Amir psychic guy in Brazil. And Amir, they took an investigation team down there to investigate him, and they had 95 of these different apport objects that were falling in different rooms, in the same room that the psychic was in rooms that he wasn't in, where other people were standing, and they gathered these together, and there was 95 incidents, and they put them in levels 1 through 5. The ones that were the worst, here's one that was actually for Krippner, that was created for him. This, I think, was his favorite color, and so Amir had this thing fall while they were doing these investigations. And the key thing there was that they were not able to photograph. That is very common with Apports. They had a crew there with these 95 different events that took place, but they were not able to catch any of these things falling. And I've got other interviews that I'll be doing that I'll be broadcasting, which will show this same sort of phenomena that it's impossible. Same thing happened with Skinwalker Ranch. Here's a PowerPoint presentation that had been done about his investigation with Amir Amadin in Brazil. But the Skinwalker Ranch actually had, I've listed 20 apports. Here are some of the other apports that they filmed. These are the ones that were stolen. And so these are no longer around, but he did photograph them before. And as I was mentioning, the Skinwalker Ranch had a whole bunch of apports, about 20 different apport phenomena. In fact, there was almost no UFOs there. There was just these apport phenomena, things appearing, disappearing, and it's quite a common phenomena. I have a book coming out called Apports, Manifestations, and UFOs, which will be released shortly, which will tie in apports to UFOs. They're, I think, much closer connected than people really believe. So here we have, and Krippner, I've been in contact with him. He's very happy there's an apport book being done. He thinks it's about time that we have a book on this phenomena. It's absolutely fascinating, and so we will notify people when the book is out. And we will review all these famous apport cases from around the world. And there are a lot of them. There's way more than people would think. And I will go through the case that even I was involved with. It involved feathers. Very, very bizarre story. So you can see all these different apports, different pieces of jewelry, usually polished stones, small polished stones. They're really, really not worth anything. Apports very rarely produce stuff that is of any real value, and it's usually done by these physical mediums, who is the sort of the deepest level of trance, where they make this stuff appear. And I'm just about to do an interview where they had an Ouija board called the Addy case, where this 12-year-old girl on this that was in contact with this Ouija board was making piles of apports appear in Britain. Very interesting case. So here you see some more of the apports. Here I think is the same one, that that green one that we saw earlier. So Stanley did a lot of work. He's no longer at Saybrook University. And I will take these and we'll take the Stanford collection and we'll look at the British stuff, and I will keep people updated. In fact, it could be said speculatively that the entire UFO phenomena may be an apport phenomena. You have crafts popping in and out, objects popping in and out, beings popping in and out, that this is maybe the principle behind how UFOs operate and where they come from. So thanks for listening.